I'm Donna Dawson, and welcome to another episode of Back to Work. Although this table and chair might seem more at home in the giant's castle in Jack and the Beanstalk, it actually illustrates a very strong point about the way we learn to sit. Do you remember back in our first episode when postural expert David Newbound explained how things can go wrong with our posture when we are still very young? Well, if you can imagine, I'm about 3 years old, and this furniture is scaled to adult size. What options have I got for sitting up straight? Well, I'll show you. I can slide back and try and support my back against the backrest of the chair, and that leaves my legs sticking out, cuts off the circulation and isn't very comfortable. Or I can move forward and either arch my back, which I can't do for very long, or I can end up by slumping forward. Now that's what happens to most of us. And this is where back problems start. And I tell you what, I can really feel that. Now, in the early years of this century, an Australian called Frederick Matthias Alexander developed a technique to help us rediscover the natural posture and movement that we were all born with. It's called simply the Alexander technique. This is the only film that exists of Frederick Matthias Alexander. Before he taught the technique, which now bears his name, he was an actor performing in his native Australia at the end of the last century. Unfortunately, during his stage work, he was plagued by persistent voice loss. Doctors could find nothing organically wrong with him, and they suggested that he rest and wait for his voice to return. But Alexander wanted to know why he was losing his voice. He concluded that he must be doing something to create the problem. So he set up a series of mirrors in which he could see his front and his side view simultaneously, and he began to notice a pattern of misuse. He observed that the tightened muscles at the back of his neck made his head collapse back and down onto his neck, which then made him appear shorter in stature. He began to realize how important his posture was, as well as the correct alignment of his head on his neck and spine. In all vertebrates, that is, animals with a backbone, the position of the head is very important. Where the head leads, the body follows. Four-legged animals have an easier time of it than we two-legged humans, as the direction of their head and back follows the same direction as their line of movement. When we stood up, in evolutionary terms, we complicated things, but the principle stays the same. Where the head leads, the body must follow. So as we move forward, the direction along the spine has to continue up through the head. The Alexander teacher is trained to help you experience this direction of forward and up. Lynn, hello, nice to meet you.
Hi, Donna, nice to see you.
I understand you're a fully qualified Alexander teacher, and
That's
I'm going
right.
to be your student.
Well, you are, yes.
Well, tell me something about Alexander technique.
Right, well, let's start, shall we, at the beginning. Let's start with your head.
Right.
Now, your head's very heavy, Donna. It weighs between 8 to 15 pounds. So you can imagine you've got this large weight on rather a fine spine made of vertebra and discs. Now, one of the dilemmas that we face is very often the head can actually weigh down on the spine and collapse. So when this happens, you've got a spine which is not able to function as well as it could. I mean, I don't know, is this your experience? Have you found sometimes it's just too heavy, the head, to go on with? It's just tired.
Glenn, all I know is I'm in pain most of the time. I mean, with my shoulder, I absolutely know what you're talking about, the relation of the neck to the shoulders to the back. I tend to feel most of my pain and stress across my upper shoulders. And I'm sure this is because I'm slumping and my head isn't in the right position. I mean, I think I stoop forward a bit too much.
Yes.
So I'm sort of slumping in a curved kind of way, I suppose.
Yes, that's right. So going back to your point of being the pupil, what my job is as a teacher is to help you to re-educate the way you're using yourself. So to get a different balance on the head, to allow the head to freely nod forward, to pivotally nod forward, to allow the spine to lengthen, to work against gravity so that gravity is not winning. I mean, gravity is useful. It'll keep us on the planet, but we don't want it to squash the life out of ourselves. Now, particularly if I am squashed, I'm not breathing correctly. If I'm not getting enough oxygen, I'm not functioning as well as I could.
Now, could there be an opposite thing to do wrong, like arching yourself too much, trying to stay ramrod straight?
Absolutely. If you try and put this right by correcting it into, what shall we say, the military posture, the getting it right, then once again, you're contracting in a negative way. you're actually trying too hard.
So you're trying to find the balance between the two somehow?
Precisely. It's a question of balance, and with that balance comes ease of movement and perhaps lack of dis-ease.
Glenn, here we are. Now I'm standing. I often get low backache pain when I stand, but I also get it when I sit. So what about standing and sitting?
Well, let's have a look at how you stand and sit. Now, first of all, when I come to sit, think about what it would be like if you were going to squat. So come up to your neck. Don't stiffen the neck. Now just allow the head to lead. Bravo. And the chair comes underneath you very easily. The chair interrupts the squat. You've really got to keep this stretch on the musculature, the head going forward and up, and the back lengthening and widening. When you are sitting down, Donna, don't perch, but really let the weight go down through the sitting bones. That's it.
Yes, I could feel myself letting those lower muscles go.
That's right, because you don't want to be contracted. You've sat down to have a rest. So allow the antagonistic pulls, that is, creating the tone of the muscles. It's the same word, tone of a musical instrument, tone of the muscles. Now, when you want to come forward to do some work, come forward from the hips, maintaining that stretch on the spine. That's lovely, and that stops you collapsing down in front and restricting the breathing. Now, one of the things we're trying to stop in the technique are bad habits. So, for example, when the phone rings, don't just grab it. Give yourself a moment. Now, free the neck, keep breathing, pick up the phone. It's just taking a second before you answer it. You're just stopping for long enough to let the mind and body work together, not against each other. That's lovely. And in the same way, when you come to go from sit to stand, again, let the head lead you. Lovely. Out of the chair. Now this is Michael. I'm asking him to not stiffen the neck, to allow the head to go forward and up, the back to lengthen and widen. Let the knees go to sit. Allow the weight to go down through the sitting bones and the knees to go forward and away. Again, to think very freely, nodding forward, coming to the upright position. And this is Trish, allowing the head to let her sit, thinking of coming up in front, lengthening and widening through the back, allowing the breathing to operate. Let the shoulders drop, slide back and down, lengthening, widening, and coming up to stand freely, easily.
So Glenn, what about the Alexander technique and walking?
Well, one of the things we've got to be very careful about is that our head doesn't drop too far forward and down. Now this will lead us to become quite bent, and collapsed, less mobile than we could be. What we're really trying to do is keep the spring in our step, to keep a gliding movement.
So how do you start with that? What do you do?
So if you take it from standing upright, letting the weight be equally distributed between your 2 feet. Now just think of your head going forward and up, your back lengthening and widening, and allow the knee to bend forward. That will take the heel off the ground, and the foot goes forward. Next foot, left, right, right, left, cross pattern reflex.
And you're into beautiful walking?
Beautiful walking. So allow the head to lead you. Allow the spring to be in your step. Don't hold the breath. Let the breath carry you forward into the movement. Allow the weight to go down through your heels. Work with gravity, not against it.
So Glenn, tell me about bending. How do I do that properly?
Well, I think the kitchen's a very good place to try this out, because what we're looking for is to be able to bend in a position of mechanical advantage, something which will allow us to lift, say, a heavy pot from the oven. Let's try that.
Okay.
Without undue strain on the mechanism. So, think of letting the head lead, bend the knees, hips come back. So you've got the antagonistic pull of the back muscles, lengthening to pick up the pot, not holding the breath, to come to the upright. So even the simplest action you can perform like a good machine. Minimum effort, maximum efficiency.
Well, that felt good, so it must have been doing me good.
Great. So this is Stefan, and we're looking at how we go into the position of mechanical advantage, with the head going forward and up. Allow the knees to bend, the knees to go forward and away, the head to go forward, the hips to go back, creating the antagonistic pull of the musculature. This antagonistic pull creates elasticity and tone in the muscles. This is good for keeping the space in the joints, keeping off the bones, keeping flexibility. If she was to continue this movement, she would end up squatting.
So, Blynn, what do the medical profession think of the Alexander technique?
Well, I think the medical profession really value what we're doing because stress-related diseases are increasing. And indeed, Professor Nicholas Tinbergen, who won the Nobel Prize in Medicine for 1973, gave us a marvelous quote, which I'd like to read to you. I recommend the Alexander technique as an extremely sophisticated form of rehabilitation. Many types of underperformance and even ailments, both mental and physical, can be alleviated, sometimes to a surprising extent, by teaching the body musculature to function differently.
Oh, that was very well put. How many lessons would a person need, do you think?
I think between 10 and 20 lessons.
And how soon before they noticed any results with their back, for instance?
Well, I think often after the first lesson.
That was true of me, actually. I felt it straight away. And how long does the session last?
Between half an hour and 3/4 of an hour.
And should you go once a week? Is that enough?
Well, I think you need to be regular, whatever.
Indeed. Now, there are an awful lot of therapies that we've covered in this program alone for back problems. Alexander technique is one of them. How would an individual know that this was the therapy for them?
Well, I think you've got to have a lesson and just find out what the results are.
And what about cost? Is it expensive?
Between £12–25 a lesson.
And I understand that you can possibly get it on the NHS?
Oh yes, if your GP is a fund holder, it is available to you.
Right. Now, the next step would be finding a qualified Alexander teacher. How do you go about doing that?
That's right. Well, if you send a self-addressed envelope to STAT, 20 London House, 266 Fulham Road, London SW10.
And that'll get there.
That'll get there.
Well, Glenn, that's great. Thank you very much. It's been very enlightening. I've enjoyed it, and I feel better already.
Thank you so much, Donna.
I hope that in today's session we've managed to clear up any mystique surrounding the Alexander technique, which is really only a technique that allows us to use our backs more naturally and thus avoid back problems before they start. Next week, we'll be looking at specialist furniture and gadgets that help us to continue the proper support of our backs. So see you then.
For a booklet to accompany this series, please send a £2 cheque or postal order to BSS to Back to Work, PO Box 29, SEDO, and that's Manchester M12 6AD.